morning. My name is Daniel Mesco,
My name is Jerry Bano.
and we are here to present our economics educational MIT AppInventor Android app. Here we've just loaded the Android emulator that comes with the MIT AppInventor website. There are a couple of formatting issues that didn't transfer over to this layout.
Can you point them out to us?
Yeah, like for example, if you compare between the two screens here, you can see the words "the fundamental of finance" and some of the spacing between here is improperly done. Just certain things, the buttons and the functionality will still all be the same.
Okay, let me stop you right there. A question for the audience. Why do you suppose, Foster, that there's this issue there with the what is it that you mentioned?
Layout?
With the layout. Why do you suppose there's an issue?
Well, part of the issue is the fact that Android has so many different devices, and when you're programming a computer, you obviously have to be emulators. So,
But if Daniel and Jerry programmed this to work with that emulator, why wouldn't what they programmed there on the GUI? Why wouldn't it automatically transfer over?
well, not to be like insulting, but you can kind of tell that it actually wasn't designed for the emulator. I think part of the reason that, as you can see right here on the screen, that MIT AppInventor, just by looking at it, you can tell that portions are not the same for that.
Yeah, from what they
right
use
there.
to build versus what they use to
So,
emulate.
that could believe that maybe they're like more advanced options to try to figure out a way to have different emulators, or maybe they have like third parties working with them to try to have emulators work. I'm not really sure how.
Okay, so what is the solution?
So I think the solution is that.
Oh wait, let's ask Jerry.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, the problem arises similar to how, like, if you code something in BlueJ and then you try running into Eclipse, especially if you're doing GUIs and like JApplets, I noticed that like things do change subtly just because of how the dimensions are created.
Yeah,
So-
that is true. Whenever
download
you
the font,
program for an applet in JCreator, it's different than programming it in BlueJ.
Right.
But in this case, you're using the same program, Jerry.
Right, but like again,
Yeah.
you can use you can use a Nexus emulator which was what Foster used, and this could look entirely different.
Right.
Like for anything, maybe the buttons will probably look different. See how the buttons are a little bit more more glossy here than the
Use
other.
the mouse.
And the edges are rounded here. I mean,
Uh-huh.
when we ran it on the tablet,
Yeah.
the proportions were as they appear on the website, not in this
Right.
emulator. But
Okay.
regardless, the functionality is still all the same, so you're not missing out on anything.
Okay,
just
so
because of
let's
this.
talk a little bit about the code. What does
So,
the code look like for this?
Well, here
app?
we'll show you some of the functionality first here, and then we'll describe the blocks behind it.
Okay.
Should I say like the goal?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Alright,
run
so
through
yeah,
the
so, like,
mission.
So our mission was actually we had an aim. We weren't just aimlessly programming here. Because since I'm an AP Economics, I actually kind of made this in mind of what we do.
Okay, so
And-
you use concepts that you're learning in AP Economics to as an
Right.
inspiration
Yep.
for this app.
And this is more coming from macroeconomics
Ah.
and the idea of like stocks and like stock portfolios.
Right.
And what we did is like we have a couple of like the stock charts, there's like NASDAQ, S&D. I mean, these aren't too important, but indeed they like are very helpful, especially when you can just like quickly just type it in and it tells you the stocks,
Right.
as well as like graphing the device, which is what we coded as well, which allows you to draw like just like demand and supply curves, for instance, or
Yeah.
like Phillips curves and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I mean, easily just pull out your phone and just draw it really quick and show it to your teacher. I mean, these are really useful things to do. So
Okay.
that was like basically our inspiration in mind, and that's what.
Did you talk to your teacher about this app?
Oh no, I haven't, but I probably will show him after.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Good. Yeah. That's something that I suggest you do.
So down here we have just a little disclaimer as you start. It says, "Welcome to the fundamentals of finance." Click one of the options above to learn more. So we'll go ahead and click on the first one, which is indices. So we have a look at different indices. It brings up the blocks here in the background, but I'll show you the page here. We have a list of different indices, like the NASDAQ index and the S&P 500 that will come up in a minute here. And you can click on, and the New York Stock Exchange, you can click on them just to kind of learn specifics about them, or you can click stock indices, which will give you a general information, a summary about.
Okay. Click on the S&P 500.
Sure. So here you get some of the, you can see the layout's a little bit changed as well. The text wouldn't normally be cutting into the graph, but there's a sample graph of over a period of time what the S&P 500 index trend was, and then there's a little description of what it is, the Standard & Poor 500. 500s.
Explain that graph for us.
Well, this shows the S&P 500 is actually, it's not a stock like you would think of another company that you can invest in. What it is it's an accumulation of stocks that come into an index, really, is where the word indices comes from. And the combined growth or loss and from each day to the next of these companies as a whole, the net gain or the net growth or the net kind of shrinkage will be shown on this graph. So these motions are that you see here. Each pixel is about a day.
Use the mouse.
These pixels here is each one day as it moves
Uh-huh.
to show how well it's done. So let's say whatever the 500 companies were that were in this index at the time, they're changing. Often the motion was upwards, so things were doing well for those companies. But overall, it's a net growth. You can't invest in any of these directly. There are certain funds that they have that kind of mimic what the indices will do. So you can invest in something that follows the trends, but these are not actually companies themselves.
Right. So
However, they're a general look at the way the market is trending.
Okay.
So
So
if you
from
wanna
what
look at it.
the information that I'm gathering from this screen is that the S&P 500 is a way for investors to gauge the overall
Trend of the
economic
market.
trend
Yeah.
for that day of all stocks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
Okay.
what this includes the 500 largest companies that are publicly traded
In the world.
in the world. Yeah,
Okay.
so that's why they call it the S&P 500.
Right.
And it's not. It'll show you the trends of what the big companies are doing, which is why it's really good to look at it over a large period of time. I think this was a yearly graph. This was a graph from one given year.
Okay.
So it'll just show the motions each day of how it's doing, and that's how you can base off what other companies in the market are going to do. If the market's doing well, chances are the majority of the companies in the market are also going to do well.
Okay. Go back to the main screen.
Let me erase this. This is the finance screen. You can go back even further if you want to go to the screen one.
Yeah, so go to like the main parts of our code now, where we actually look up stock quotes.
Yeah,
and
that's
such.
just a little background on
Right.
indices, and we have other informational slides as well there.
Okay. So before you show us, like let's say I want to look at Yahoo, how Yahoo's doing. Show me the actual code
Well,
for
that's
that particular.
that's
one.
where we're gonna go to.
Well, here,
now.
we'll show you
Sure.
quickly what it goes like. You
Yeah.
click stock lookup. Here's the code here. I'll get to what's going on down there in a minute. But there's a text box that you type in the stock ticker symbol.
So Yahoo, right?
So you're supposed to know
Yeah.
beforehand
I mean-
what the ticker number is.
Yeah.
The ticker.
The ticker symbol, yeah.
Okay,
You
for
can also
Yahoo?
Google ticker symbols.
Yahoo, what is Yahoo?
I don't know Yahoo.
I know Google is just
Goog is G-O-O-G,
Goog.
yeah.
So we can do that
I
one.
think it's YAA.
Or Apple is AAPL. You can try Goog or something.
Just do Google.
You click get stock quote, and then the current price. And right now the market is just opening, 9:30 a.m. So it'll give us a live stock quote of what it is. And if you refresh it, it might change. Because 9:30 the market opens, so we should have.
It's
some
hiding under here.
Yeah, it's hiding under the text box because
Yeah,
of the
can
formatting.
I-
It says current value 1,315.65.
Wow, that's pretty high.
There you go.
1,200.
There it is.
Excuse me.
How did you scroll like that, Jerry?
I just scroll down.
Oh, just use the mouse
So
wheel.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Try getting the stock quote again, refresh it, and see if it changes. If there's been a
Scroll down.
change in the market yet.
I don't think it happens.
Is it
that
refreshed?
fast.
Okay, so how does it get that quote?
Okay, well it uses here. I'll show you the code. Then you can click. Yeah. Here is the code for the stock quote page.
Right.
What goes on up here is quote button is the button that says get stock quote. I just labeled it that because it's easier to remember.
Right.
This block here, this yellow block. Oh, I don't know what color you call this. All right. Well, anyway, this block is the when is kind of like the if something is clicked button
Right.
in Java. So when that button is clicked, it's going to go to the web app. I put in a web app in there. You can't see it on the page,
Right.
but it's acting underneath that screen. There's a web app that will go to this link here, finance.yahoo.com.
Right.
This quote will take you to it'll download a Yahoo Finance stock quotes checker that'll just go straight to the Yahoo website
Right.
and load in any quote you type in. So what it does is it takes that information, it gets it from the internet, and then here when it's clicked, it puts it onto the screen. So I kind of have a text box there that's linked up to it. So basically that's what get response code is. Now 200 is just if you typed in accurate, like, because this is the else. If you didn't type in any quote that's real, it'll tell you error getting stock quote. If you didn't type in a real symbol.
All right, do me a favor, guys. Please point with the pointer, the mouse.
Sure. I don't know why the marker's not working right now, but.
Okay. So up there where it says set web1.url to, and that particular URL is it doesn't really, the information on that page changes, but that URL doesn't.
No, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The URL is the same, but the information is loaded as the market changes.
Okay, how did you find that URL?
There's actually a MIT AppInventor has a like a stock quote help page. If you're loading stock quotes in, it gives you a link that's always the same that people have used for AppInventor stock quotes.
Oh, great.
And it's great because the link never changes, so you can leave it in the code, but it will update live on the Yahoo website. Maybe Yahoo one time will change it in the future. I don't know. Then we'll have to change it to this thing.
Now, why that particular piece right underneath the URL, stock symbol text box.text?
The stock symbol text box is the area below, which is just what's going to print out. Whatever comes from this website is going to print out into that text box.
So why do you need set value label.text if you've got that symbol text box?
Well, that's actually like a hidden box that
That's a container.
right. That was like below that button. So,
Yeah, because the web 1 option is not something that's visible on the page.
Right.
Because it's just kind of like a line of code that says go to the web, but you need to create it in the designer. Well, we'll leave the blocks in a minute. We'll go back to the designer. You can see where it says hidden component, and basically it needs to establish that this is the link associated with that component, but it's not visible until you put it into the text box. So that's why you have to have the two different parts. This just says when you finally have something in Web 1, when there's finally a link established, then this is where you print it out. And if it's not a real stock quote, it'll tell you, or not a real ticker symbol, it'll tell you error.
Okay.
Otherwise, it says current value, and then right below you see where it says current value, get response content, and that's what just kind of is like a little text that says current value, and then it puts in the number. So this is the stock quote, and this will update live for any stock you use that's publicly traded on any index in the world. You can go to a Japanese stock, anything that you can find on your stock app.
Okay. So enter a bogus stock quote and see what response you get.
ABCD maybe. I don't know if that's real.
Yeah.
Or not. Cage. There you go. To honor our one true God.
Unfortunately, zero.
Okay, so that's a problem, right?
No, that shouldn't be happening. I don't know why that's happening because I just ran this the other day and it was telling me error getting stuck.
Okay. Does anybody?
Or the company called Cage that had no money.
Yeah, that's certainly not a stock quote.
Can anybody suggest a reason why that's happened, or how to fix it?
Well, how are you handling the error if it's supposed to work? Like,
If it's supposed if it's working properly, it's going to print out error getting stock quote if there's no such symbol. And it has in the past. I don't know why it's not good. It's changing now because I haven't changed the code since. But I'll look back into it. There must be something in there that's gone wrong.
is it because you just slid? When you were pointing at it, you moved that block there. Do you have to like save it?
I don't think that has anything to do with it. I put it back in the same place, so I don't think there should be anything wrong. But I'll definitely take a look at that because that's weird. But yeah, but otherwise it usually says error getting stock quote if it's not a real. And if it is a real, it'll give you the current price at whatever moment it is during the day that it's being traded.
Right.
So yeah, go ahead and click back. Jerry, show them the
drawing
chart.
app.
Yeah, the drawing app.
How do I get rid of this?
Which one? The
This
button?
keyboard.
Oh,
This
the
keyboard.
Click done maybe.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, as I said, we also coded a graphing device that allows you to like I said, like it gives you a little coordinate plane and allows you to, as you'll see in a moment, it allows you to like pick different colors. Yeah, perfect. And also has the functionality of allowing you to like choose different array of dots here, which is pretty useful. And yeah, you can choose from the red, blue, or green. Then you can also wipe it and go back to the other screen. So basically,
And how is that relevant to your finance app?
well, that's what I'm gonna explain right now. So I mean, this is more of specific and less stock stuff, but we wanted to do like the essentials of finance and economics, because this is also supposed to be useful for economics as well. So as such, like, you can do things like
It's a visual learning tool, really.
right, and so you can do
Man,
like
curves,
a curve, and then you can reduce the font. Or maybe this is too skinny for you, so you can do make it bigger. Oh, that big dot's not gonna work too. Oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. I guess it doesn't like it, but yeah. So that's the big dots, and then you can do small dots as well. But yeah,
Can you clear the screen?
and then you can wipe it as well.
Okay.
So yeah, this is pretty useful again. Like if you just want to do a quick graph on your phone.
Yeah, if you wanna discuss
Things
with
like that.
someone the trend of a stock or
Or
something,
the trend of a stock as well.
manually like that while you're looking at numbers. or
Mhm.
whatever.
And this can be specifically useful for that purpose. But yeah, let me get to the code of it. So yeah, these couple of things here are pretty basic here.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. The pen doesn't
Never
work.
mind.
Use the mouse, use the mouse.
So yeah, like here again. So like we created these different like button red, button blue, and button green. We're just like buttons these are all just buttons that we created, and again like these are blocks. This is literally the color red that just joins with the block of paint color and then drawing canvas, which is a set function, and then we just connect the little red block to it, and then that's what happens when you press the button red. It makes your cursor red, and the same thing with blue, and the same thing with green. And then if you choose to wipe the screen, then you just use this function. It's called drawing canvas. You call upon the drawing canvas object, which is what we created, and you clear it. And then we also, of course, so that's great and all, but how do you get it to actually paint? So you use the drawing canvas .touched, and then it had a little XY functionality here. So it would be able to move up and down, and so it's not like bring this up. So it's not like you're just drawing horizontally or drawing solely vertically. So you have the functionality of drawing in both X and Y directions, and that's why we use that. And the touch sprite was just and the variable for it. And then again we called back the drawing canvas, the draw circle, and the XY was again like what I said, allowing the functionality of that. And then the R was the radius, and that's what allowed the actual pixel size of the marker. So you can see here, I believe the radius was 2, I think. And then when you do big dots, it changes the radius to 5. Let me just see where that code.
So what you're doing is every time you're drawing on the canvas, you're drawing like circles.
One is a circle, but you're just each single motion is a circle. So you're just drawing a lot of circles in a straight line.
Right.
Like this, and so they appear
in
as
essence, right. But again, like that's how most drawing functions work, is through that kind of idea. So yeah, again, in essence, you can think of the drawing as the drawing function as just painting a circle, and then you can paint a smaller circle or a big circle. See, that's like a radius of 2, where that's a radius of 5. So
Yeah.
so on and so forth, things like that. And then the drag that I explained, or I don't think I explained this one, but this one is a little bit more complicated. This one is, as you can see, involves a lot more, like start X, start Y, previous X, previous Y, current X, current Y, drag sprite.
Did you have to drop those variables in there, or did it automatically do that?
Those appeared.
Those appear automatically.
Yeah, those appeared.
and you can choose them as you need.
And of course you can change these variables. Or maybe not. That was not. Wait.
No, I think you can undo. There's an undo function up top, I think. Go to the top of the screen there.
Where?
Build, maybe try build. See up there? Okay, project. There's got to be a way.
Controls is
I don't know if controls. Try it. Well, you can try controls. I don't know if it operates on this
I don't think it would.
medium. Go up to the top. Go to the top to project, maybe.
Mm,
Connect. I'm pretty sure I've done this before. So.
well, this is just a great example to
You can
show
go
how
ahead and try
limited AppInventor
help.
can be.
troubleshooting and empty it.
Wait.
You want to pause it? Why don't you pause it now, Jerry? All
Alright, sorry, the backbone was solved. Unfortunately, there isn't a undo button and AppInventor, which actually does cause for some worry and raised eyebrows, but we'll save that for later. But yeah, essentially, what this little toolbar actually is not only like just the variables, but they're actually variables you can choose from. Actually, these aren't the variables that are coming in play. What actually is coming into play is the ones I actually chose. And this is just like a little toolbar, like, oh hey, these are all the variables that you can use. And unfortunately, you actually can't change these. You have to use these. So that's actually another limitation of AppInventor. So you can't really change these variables. You just have like kind of an option pane of what to choose from. So it's really like it's just basically like AppInventor gives you a jigsaw puzzle, and you just kind of have to just choose with it. You can't really make anything from it. So yeah, so there's that as well. And then the final piece of this is this opens up another
I think
screen.
there's more if it's there.
I think that was it.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, that was it. It's pretty relatively simple. And these are just two initializers like in Java, where you just like write like int some number equals something. That's basically what this is. The set global dot size to global big. These are just different kinds of parameters. And then of course when you press it, like button big, it makes it big. And global big was setting the radius to a bigger number. There it is. Here's my radiuses. I was wondering where these were going. So yeah, the small is 2. That's like the radius size of 2. Like again, like that. No, the big is the 8 and the small is the 2, and the dot size also is the same. That was just another one for some weird reason I needed 2.
Yeah, they initialize the first value starts small instead of big.
Because if it's 0, then
Right.
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so go back to the main screen now.
So yeah, let's go back to the main screen.
Here, there's a lot of other little hidden things, but we can just show you the designer if you want to.
Oh yeah,
time's sake.
or Easter.
Well, we'll show
or
the
Easter egg.
But we've got there's a lot of different
We
windows.
have an Easter
just
egg.
like,
Yeah.
Stock options, for example, was one.
We
Screen
can just show the
one.
designer.
Yeah, show the designer. Well, we only use the emulator right now. But anyway, screen 1, go to stock options, the stock options window. Here is how you drag between all the windows, that little toolbar up there.
Yeah.
This is just an informational thing on options. Put and calls, for example, certain options that you have when you're trading stocks that you can reserve the right to buy it at a special price, which is also taking a risk in the way you don't know if the price will go down or up. If it goes up, it's beneficial for you. But options are advanced ways to buy stock rather than just the current market value like most people would trade it at.
So what's this Easter egg that you're talking about?
Oh,
yeah.
Well, go back to
Signature.
We have first do the credits actually. Yeah, we'll show you the credits is how we
Credits.
the credits first. And then
Easter
the
egg is way more important.
What's that?
Credits are always last.
Okay, yeah, sure. All right, fair enough. Easter egg, yeah. Does anyone else? How much time do we have? 4 minutes. Thank you.
Alright, yes,
Okay,
enough time for the Easter egg.
The Easter egg is right below credits.
Oh, it's right below.
It's a hidden button you can't see. Of
What?
course.
What?
Is that the Easter egg?
What?
It undeletes
Oh my
itself.
god. Alright.
It deletes itself from your. So it's a good thing we didn't pay for this app because
Goodness.
it would just delete itself, right?
All right. Well, what it would do if MIT's there it is. Nick Cage is a cat, and if you click on it, it meows.
Oh, really?
And it
Yeah,
meows.
that's the sound. But the sound function was too complex for this emulator.
Right.
So it just
Obviously,
decided to quit.
Nicolas Cage was much
His
too.
godliness,
They couldn't handle the part.
his just divine glory was too much for MIT.
So-
Guys, I changed my mind about this app. I was thinking about uploading it to Google Play for free, but now after seeing this picture of Nick Cage,
Least
you
you
have to
know it.
pay somebody to
Yeah,
download
yeah.
this program.
Right. This is obviously comes into a par with Flappy Birds and so on. So
He was
Okay.
our motivation
Yeah,
for this
yeah.
entire presentation was Nick Cage.
Nicolas Cage himself.
Show him
Alright.
the credits too.
Questions and comments, folks.
Credits.
Questions and comments about the app?
There it is.
There we go.
Influence and inspiration.
What about Fiel's moral support? Yeah, no.
There was not really much moral support from Fiol.
I think
As you can tell from this presentation,
It was
it was
Okay.
given a
Any
sassy remark.
questions, guys? Any way to improve this this app?
It's beautiful.
Looks good. We still didn't get through charts or anything.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
aesthetics.
Yeah,
The aesthetics.
Yeah.
I feel like, simple things like, I know this is hard when we did the app programming because, very, very advanced. But simple things like, maybe for this, you could have the buttons like centered, or maybe like you use a color scheme that, makes the user not so.
We we actually use something called a table arrangement there,
Table arrangement.
which is why it's, if you see here, there's other types of arrangements like horizontal arrangement and vertical arrangement.
I
But-
like that arrangement.
table.
Just like, for example, the background, I would use a background instead of black.
Yeah.
I would use something that is finance related.
True.
You know,
Use
maybe
a lot of green.
maybe a nice picture of Wall Street or something like that. You know.
The only thing is it makes the buttons look really.
And the tables they're
like-
only allowing like
like-
4 at a time, so it's tough.
It just makes the buttons seem like really like like.
It- it-
like it
Is
just
there
seems
any
too basic.
is there
Out of
any
place.
way
Yeah, out of place.
is there any way of making, you can make the picture a little more transparent, like work, Jerry, with the opacity of the picture,
Right.
and that way you can have it kind of the buttons stand out but have a nice background picture anyway.
I don't know if they have an opacity thing for the background.
No, I'm
image.
saying you can do it in Photoshop.
But
and
yeah,
create it.
we can make it in such a way that
Sa-
I just
same
figured
way
black
you
was
did
a-
the
was a-
same way you did the kitten and Nicolas Cage. You know?
Yeah, I just figured that that black was enough of a non-present color that it wouldn't distract from any of the things going on, and it would allow us to use vibrant colors like green and red in the actual app.
Yeah, I mean,
So
to
that
me,
they show out.
that's distracting. Like vibrant green like that on black.
It's
I
also
just wanted it to be finance related.
It's also for presentation purposes because it would actually, if you were to put a picture, it actually would slow down the emulator even more. So
We
Yeah.
tried a white
Yeah.
background, but
Yeah.
the problem is the buttons I think were white or something was going on that you
It was
wouldn't be able
bleeding,
to
yeah.
see it. Yeah, and it
Bleeding.
wouldn't have been. Black was a good way to just
Yeah.
kind of stand out what's actually part of the presentation and what's a background.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you,
guys.